Welcome back to another edition of I Have No Clue. On today's episode, we're going to talk about working two jobs or working overtime. Let's get into it. All right. Listen, you should never, ever be working two jobs. I don't care what kind of situation you're in, you should not be working two jobs. And you should never, ever work any overtime. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? First of all, life is short. It goes by real quick. It goes by real quick. And when you're working overtime and you're working two jobs, you're not working for yourself. You're not going to get that money. You truly won't. The majority of people that work overtime, they don't get the money to spend. Somebody else ends up spending it. And I'm going to get into that in a bit and tell you what usually happens. And this happens a lot. And you might be shocked at what happens with the extra money that you make working overtime. But first of all, man, overtime, basically the time's over, it's gone. All right? That's why it's called overtime. Instead of working overtime, adjust the way you spend a little bit. Spend a little less on coffee. Uh, you know, I want to get great credit and get my bills paid off. No. Listen, hey, instead of staying over, go stop at your dad's house and go fishing with them. Go take your mom out to dinner. Or, like if, let's say you're work at GM and you're on third shift and you usually stay over till 11 o'clock. Stop doing that. Stop doing it. Get out at 7 o'clock on third shift and go drive by and grab your aunt and take her out to breakfast. Listen, instead of the overtime, spend more time with your kids. Instead of the overtime, sit and veg out. Instead of the overtime, go take a walk, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm telling you, people on their deathbed aren't saying, oh man, I can't believe I turned down that overtime and didn't stay in that factory smelling all those fumes and the exhaust of the vehicles driving off the line, or the paint from the products being painted, or because a lot of jobs out there, they're really hazardous for your health. They truly are. So the more you work there, the worse your health is going to be. So the more you work, the more the government wants in taxes. The more you work, the more your ex is going to get in child support or alimony or what have you. I mean, there's always someone there with their hand out. No matter who you are, there's always someone there with their hand out. So when you work overtime, it's just more money for them. It's more money for your wife to spend. It's more money for your husband to blow on gambling or whatever the thing may be. So don't ever work overtime, and don't ever work two jobs. Only work one job and don't do the overtime. And I'm going to tell you why in the end, why most guys in the end, they never get any of that money they spend. A lot of guys in the end, they have this huge 401k because they worked all that overtime, and the time went by so quick. It went by like a flash, and they were 70, 80 years old and decrepit and in the bed, on sick bed and whatnot, and end up dying. But this is usually what happens. A guy will stock all that away in his 401k, and his 401k will be like 400,000 or 500,000, and then he dies. Wifey steps in, and it's all wifey's, and she's spending it on her new boyfriend or her new husband or her new husband's kids. I'm telling you, don't do the overtime. Don't do it. It isn't worth it. And you're thinking, yeah, because those guys that work like in the factories, like 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, they end up dying early because, look, the amount of paint fumes and dust and all that stuff you breathe in while you're working, that's hard on your health. You're more chance of getting cancer. Like, for instance, in the auto factories where they have the car drive off the line, they start the car inside the factory. Well, that exhaust is going out into the air. And I don't care how much fans they have or whatever they have in there to suck the exhaust out. They really shouldn't do that. They shouldn't, because a certain amount of the exhaust goes into the air. And then a certain amount of exhaust you breathe in. And guess what exhaust causes? It causes cancer, especially diesel exhaust. So that's one thing the factories should stop doing. The ones, hey, if you work at a factory, you should tell your boss, roll the car outside before it started. Roll the car outside before it started. That's really bad for your health. It truly is. And they don't care. They don't care because they want, I don't know. But anyhow, I'm getting off track. But 9 times out of 10, the guy works his ass off, dies, and he's got 400,000 or 500,000 in his 401k, and the wife and the wife's new boyfriend are spending it. So hey, if you knew that was going to happen, would you be staying over? Hell no, you wouldn't stay over. You'd be like, hell, I'm going fishing. I'm gonna go take a walk. I'm gonna just veg out. I'm gonna go watch some TV. Don't work overtime. Don't be a sucker. Don't be a sucker. Life is super short. It goes by so fast. 20 years like that, like a click of a button, like a click of a bell. That's 20 years. 20 years, 20 years, 20 years. You're 60. 20 years, you're 80. Don't work the overtime. Don't. Hey, adjust your spending and enjoy life. Enjoy life because you can't get time back. You can't get time back. You only have so much time. So listen, leave the like, subscribe, and leave the comments below. And hopefully I convinced one person out there to not do any overtime. I'm hoping I convinced one person that you don't. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. You will not regret it. And especially if you have kids, do not do any overtime. Spend the time with your kids because before you know it, your kids are going to be grown up. They really will. Spend the time with your kids. Truly spend it with your kids, man. Don't be staying no overtime because hey, you're not getting the money. Someone else is spending it. The government, your wife, your husband. Just don't do the overtime. Really think about it. But until next time, have a good one.